Hello and welcome to iNurture videos. In this video, we will discuss an overview of discharge of contract. At the end of this video, you will be able to explain an overview of discharge of contract. Discharge of contract refers to the termination or cessation of a contractual relationship between two parties. There are several means of discharging a contract. They are discharge by performance, discharge by agreement, discharge by impossibility, discharge by lapse of time, discharge by operation of law, and discharge by breach of contract. Let's now learn about each means in detail. A contract is discharged by performance when the parties of the contract meet the agreed obligation and the contract thus comes to an end. However, when only one party has performed the obligation, only that party is discharged while the other party is held accountable for breach of contract. A contract can be discharged by actual performance or attempted performance. Actual performance: a contract that is discharged when both the parties meet the agreed obligations and the performance is complete and precise. Attempted performance: when the obligations of a contract are offered in the form of a tender, it is not an actual performance. When the promisor offers to perform his obligation, the promisee might refuse to accept the performance. For example, Andrew agrees to sell his property to Jack for Rs 50,000. Andrew hands over all the property related and other documents upon receiving the payment from Jack. A contract can be discharged or terminated upon agreement or mutual consent from the parties of the contract. For example, Jason, a heavy machine manufacturer, sells a machine to John, a factory owner, with the condition that it can be returned within 15 days if it's found to be malfunctioning. This means that John can return the machine within 15 days in case the machine is found to be defective because the agreement was already made at the time of purchase. A contract may be discharged when it becomes impossible to fulfill the obligations of the contract due to subsequent illegality. For example, Jane, a merchant, agrees to export certain goods to her client Alan on a specified date. However, the ship on which the goods were to be loaded was cancelled due to poor weather conditions. Thus, the contract becomes void due to impossibility and is discharged. A contract is discharged when its obligations are not fulfilled and its rights are not enforced within the specified time period. For example, Mark fails to repay the borrowed loan amount of Rs 20,000 from Rose within the contracted time period. A contract is discharged by operation of law. Following are the circumstances where a contract will come to an end by operation of law. Whenever one of the parties come across death, contractual relations will come to an end. When one of the parties of the contract become insolvent, a person forgoes capacity to contract and those contracts made by that person are discharged. When between the same parties a new contract is entered into and a security of a higher degree is taken, the previous contract merges in the higher security. By the rights and liabilities vested in the same person, where the rights and liabilities under a contract vest in the same person. Where any of the parties alters any of the terms of the contract without seeking the consent of the other party to it, the contract terminates. But an alteration which is not material or which is made to carry out the common intention of the parties does not affect the validity of the contract. A contract can be discharged due to breach of contract by one of the parties involved. For example, if Mike, a tenant, does not vacate the property of a landlord after the contracted rental agreement for 1 year, he is accused of breaching the contract. Let's have a quick recap on what we discussed. Discharge of contract refers to the termination or cessation of a contractual relationship between two parties. There are several means of discharging a contract. They are discharge by performance, discharge by agreement, discharge by impossibility, discharge by lapse of time, discharge by operation of law, and discharge by breach of contract. Thank you for watching this video.